What I'm about to describe is a study that found dramatic, really dramatic, I should say, increases in growth hormone. Certain forms of deliberate heat exposure using sauna can stimulate very large increases in growth hormone output, which for people in their 30s, 40s, and beyond could be very useful and may also be useful for people who are just trying to stimulate the release of more growth hormone in order to, for instance, recover from exercise or stimulate fat loss or muscle growth or repair of a particular injury. And subjects that did this 2-hour-a-day, 80-degree Celsius protocol experienced 16-fold increases in growth hormone. So they measured growth hormone before the sauna and after the sauna, and growth hormone levels went up 16-fold, which is obviously an enormous and, it turns out, statistically significant effect. As I mentioned, they did this 2-hour-a-day, divided into 30-minute sessions protocol on day 1, day 3, and day 7 of a week. And what they found was on day 1, there was a 16-fold increase in growth hormone. On day 3, however, there was still a significant effect on growth hormone as compared to before sauna, but that effect was basically cut by 2/3. Okay, so now instead of getting a 16-fold increase, it was more like a 3 or 4-fold increase, which is still a huge increase, but not as great as the increase observed on day 1. And then on day 7, there tended to be a 2, maybe a 3-fold increase, but not as great as the one observed on day 1. So if you're going to use deliberate heat exposure in order to try and trigger massive increases in growth hormone, you're going to need to be careful about not doing it more than, let's say, once a week. So I don't mean to be discouraging of using deliberate heat exposure to access growth hormone increases, but if that's your specific goal or your main goal, then I think it's reasonable to say that you don't want to do deliberate heat exposure, at least not of the sort that I described here, more than once a week or maybe even once every 10 days. And that you would want to time that to other events in your life, maybe hard workouts, or if you're trying to push through a fat loss barrier, or simply in order to access growth hormone at peak levels, maybe 3 times per month or 4 times per month. If you start doing deliberate heat exposure more often, you'll still get increases in growth hormone, but they are not going to be nearly as large as the increases in growth hormone that you're going to experience if you shock your system with deliberate heat exposure every once in a while.